All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 26th Board of Trustees meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:02. And Clerk Perlow, could you please confirm the presence of a quorum?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Shepro?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Giuliano?
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Hill?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Laux?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Ugrinsky?
Present.
Thank you. Attorney Moran and Treasurer Gafka are with us as well.
I see that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, can everyone please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we all please remain standing just for a moment? These moments of silence seem to be coming quicker, not too much time, fewer and farther between, but I felt very compelled to recognize a resident, longtime resident, who passed away recently. His name was Don Pollock, and often referred to as the fifth trustee. His service was today, and I just wanted to have a moment of silence to remember Don and all of his time spent in this room, speaking to members of the Board of Trustees and giving his opinions and definitely having an impact on the Village of Port Jefferson. So a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, Clerk Perillo, I see there is an announcement.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The village tax lien sale will be held at 10 o'clock a.m. on March 11th in Village Hall, 121 West Broadway.
That's it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, public safety and welfare update. Tonight we have our this is their first official meeting at our village agenda meetings. We have Anthony Flamia and Kevin Cooper here from the Code Enforcement Department, but first I'd like to call up our representative from Suffolk County Police Department. The two of you can join as well if you want to come up to the podium, to the podium area. Be fine. So the transition is minor.
Good evening. Officer D. Kennup, 6th Precinct. I work in the COPE office. So I'm just going to go over some stats, criminal statistics for the period of January 29th through today, the 26th. Looks like total calls for service were 297 for that period, and compared to 296 for the same period last year. There were 0 aggravated harassments, 0 assaults, 0 burglaries for that same period, January 29th through February 26th. Criminal mischief, which is damage of property, whether intentional or reckless, 4 reports of criminal mischief compared to 3 last year. 2 of those cases this year were cleared by arrest. 2 of them are still active. They're being actively investigated. And 1 of them was domestic related, domestic in nature. Harassment could be unwanted physical contact, something of that nature. We see it in domestic situations sometimes. There were 5 cases of harassment compared to 1 last year. So that seems to be slightly up. 2 of those are actively being investigated. 3 of them were closed, so the person that called 911 chose not to press charges. Larcenies, 5 reported larcenies since January 29th of this year, compared to 6 last year, so that looks slightly down. and 4 of them are still open. They're pending investigation. 1 of them was closed, so no charges were brought in that case. For a grand total of 22 total criminal incidents since January 29th, looks up slightly from 16 last year for the same period. The next category, aided cases. Aided cases are basically calls for medical service. We respond with the fire department and the ambulance crews. There were 73 compared to 87 last year. Only one, actually, I'm sorry, it looks like one aided overdose case, the same as last year, 1. Also 1 was reported. None of those were fatal. And total non-criminal categories, there were 73 calls for service pertaining to those, up from 60 last year, for a total of 275 non-criminal incidents compared to 280 for the same period last year. And finally, motor vehicle accidents, looks like 20 since January 29th were reported, compared to 13 last year, so that's up slightly. None of those were fatal or serious physical injury. And arrests, there were 5 arrests made since January 29th, totaling 10 charges, compared to 3 last year, which brought 3 charges. Does anyone have any questions related to any of the statistics that I just read, or anyone need clarification or anything like that? Okay. And while I have the floor, I just wanted to say that the precinct community meeting will be held Tuesday, March 11th at 7 p.m., if anyone's interested in attending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Supervisor Cooper.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and the board, for having us. We've had a busy almost first month together, Anthony and I. I just want to run over some of the things we've been doing. First and foremost, we've had meetings. We're trying to get out there and meet as many members of the public and the business community as possible. We had a meeting with St. Charles and their higher-ups and EMS from around the area. That went very well. We got introduced to local EMS and EMS as far out as Yaphank that comes through the village to St. Charles. We met with community members from the Highlands complex. We addressed some of their concerns about some homelessness, parking, people in Six Acre Park. We were going to work with them. We're going to work with the behavioral section of the Suffolk County Police Department, and also Family Services League to try to come up with a team effort to address their concerns and make it a safer area around the Highlands. And then yesterday we met with members of the Chambers of Commerce, multiple business owners there, and we had good discussions there. They had a bunch of questions for us, and hopefully we answered them to their satisfaction. Next week we're meeting with members of the Port Jeff Fire Department. Hopefully that'll be Tuesday, and just like an introductory meeting, and see what they need from us. Enforcement on the code side, we got into some violations on northern Main Street up near the railroad tracks. I issued 7 notices of violation for the businesses there, the vacant businesses that did not have displays in their windows. That was an issue that was brought up to me the first week I was here, and so I issued those 7 notices of violation. There were a few more there that I'm going to get out to that I noticed while I was up there yesterday, and there's one on down here. It's the end of Main Street here, almost by the ferry, that I'm going to take care of. Let's see what else. I also went out with Trustee Laux and Hill. We were out 2 days ago at the high school to address that parking situation, their concerns. We also were with Jarrett from the Highway Department, DPW, and Dennis. We came up with some ideas, we were just talking, and hopefully we can come up with some kind of solution, make it safer there. I will be back up there. I then went to the elementary school, and I spoke with the crossing guard there, and I was there through their dismissal, just to see what's going on there. I think the problem there is more in the mornings, and I'll be out one morning, 1 or 2 mornings, to see what the parking and traffic situation is there. As far as our code department, this is going to be our uniform. We're going to be out. We're going to be transitioning to these color pants, these type of shirts. We're working on a new patch design that we're going to have on the uniform. So that's all in works and transition. Hopefully within the next month, you'll see our code officers out there with nice, sharp-looking uniforms that distinguish us from code, to be code. We have our online complaint system. It's on the code department webpage on the Port Jeff Village website. Anybody can go on there if they have any type of complaint, or they think that someone, a resident or a business, is in violation. They can go on, fill out the information, what they think the complaint is, or the problem, and it'll be sent right to the code email. And our emails, I'll get it right away, and I'll get it addressed right away. You can report anonymously. Some people don't want to leave their name and address, and I understand why. And you can do it anonymously also. That is up and running right now. The rest of the web page we're designing, and hopefully within the next week or two, we'll have it redesigned with a new mission statement and some answers to questions, common questions about code. And that's it. Anybody have any questions for us?
No, come on up to the microphone.
Hi, welcome. Is it working, I guess? Hello? Okay.
Yeah, just state your name and address,
Okay,
please.
my name is Rob Grimm, 18 Pine Hill Road, and welcome aboard.
Thank
But I
you.
just have one suggestion. Perhaps you could go to the Facebook page for code, and right now the head article in there is still the chief that resigned. It'd be nice if you could take that down, maybe put your 2 bios there or something.
I wasn't aware that we had a Facebook page, so.
Okay.
We do, yeah, we'll take a look at it, yeah.
Okay.
We'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Barbara Sabatino, 2 Westview Avenue. When you had mentioned uptown about empty storefronts and that this should have a display, do the window paintings count as a display?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I know the village has batted around filling those empty stores with something so it doesn't look so desolate. But is it actually in the code?
It's section 250-37.2 sub C, where you have to have a window display. If you go into the village code, you'll see what there, there's guidelines for what you need to put in the windows.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my last comment is I like the uniforms.
Oh, thank you. And also, we will have a Port Jeff code email coming out and a phone number also. There's going to be multiple ways to get in touch with code and get some kind of response pretty much right away. So we're working on all that. It's been a busy first month for us, so, to say the least.
I just want to thank the 2 of you for hitting the ground running and being responsive to all the requests that you've gotten so far, attending meetings morning, noon, night, and just being responsive to the community. I feel the appreciation and look forward to the next 2 days to see what you pull off
Right.
in those 2 days. So every day is a new adventure, so thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to jump into our public comment section. So if anyone would like to address the Board of Trustees, now's your chance. Barbara?
Hi, good evening, Barbara Sabatino. I have a couple of things. One is last 2 weeks ago during the work session, there was much discussion about how the volume of leaves exploded from 2023 to 2024. And I was thinking about it, and I think one of the reasons that we should all be aware of is trees do not produce the same amount of leaves year to year. You know, it's based on temperature, sunlight. So if you have an overcast month, the amount of rain that we have, you can have a very good year and you can have a lousy year. So as you explore more on how to handle the volume, that's one of the things that you have to take into consideration. The other thing I wanted to mention was I got the link for the parking stickers, yay, and I filled out the application and sent it, and I got an email reply that said, we received it, we're working on it, you should hear back from us in about a week. You don't have a parking sticker until you get that email. And it's been 10, 12 days and I haven't heard back. So I'm sure whoever's going through the material, there's a lot of people applying right away, but I do have that email, so if I get a ticket before I get the permit,
We'll leave it to the prosecutor to decide what to do with that.
the
But
last,
they won't enforce village parking permits until at least a month away from now, so,
oh, okay.
maybe a month.
The material said March 10th, so
Oh, what's today?
today is February 26th.
Right.
Okay.
Time flies.
26th or 27th?
26.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it. I'm just kidding.
But it does fly.
Yeah,
It'll
it
come
does.
very fast.
Yeah.
I'm so sad to hear about Don Pollock. We worked together quite a bit over the years, and we butt heads quite a few times over the years. And 9 out of 10 times he was right. You know, when we disagreed on, information or he was a wonderful person, and I'm so sorry to hear of his passing. And I hope that the village will remember him over the years because he was definitely had a lot of input that was very, very good.
Thank you.
I actually want to add to that. Don Sr. was, when Don Jr. was a part of the power plant working group, Don Sr. asked if he could attend, and he did to a couple of sessions, but he was in the 3 years that I came to the Board of Trustee meetings prior to, or 2 years prior to running for office. He was always here and always had something meaningful to say. So we need, we need everyone to emulate that as a resident.
He'll be missed.
Hi, good evening. Karen Sullivan, 66 Soundview Drive. So I just wanted to kind of recap just a couple of things. First off, I just want to thank publicly the Suffolk County Police Department, who was very instrumental in securing some vandalism and some trespassing situations at my building where my store is. That happened on February 2nd. The team, the 607 car, and then the rest of the surrounding cars were incredibly responsive. And I just want to give a personal shout out to Sergeant Dave Cholden in the 6th Precinct because he was just incredibly responsive, and so was the team. This gentleman is homeless and did some vandalizing on our property days prior. And then the police department, he was kind of mulling around, and they created a way to kind of identify him. And due to that identification, they, dug deep as much as they could. He had 16 warrants out for his arrest. So through one of those warrants, they were able to arrest him. But, he didn't really spend a lot of time in jail that evening. but at least then he was kind of booked and processed that evening. The next day he was out and was then outfitted with an ankle bracelet. So the police department and the prosecuting team and the judge were incredibly responsive in really controlling this individual. Since that incident occurred at the beginning of February, we have not really seen him around. So it's unfortunate that he's homeless and in the situation that he's in, but I'm really hoping that he's moved on and that he's no longer kind of hanging out in the village of Port Jeff or near our building. And just to put on record, really for code also, my landlord was incredibly responsive, and we do have a trespassing affidavit in effect with the police department. So if he does step foot on our property, we have the ability to call 911 and obviously have him arrested if that happens. That does lead me into my next point about code. I was at the chamber meeting last night. It was a great meeting, and I was really happy to meet the new code enforcement team. One of the suggestions that I have for them, and now being a business owner in Port Jeff, that it would be great if we could take the code components that are in that giant book and kind of break those out that are going to apply to businesses. And that should maybe be a part of like some kind of a welcome packet that a brand new business gets when they establish, their footing in the village. I use myself as an example. I mean, last year, I learned on my own. If it wasn't for Cindy Suarez, there were probably so many things that I would have missed. She was the most informative, communicative, and helpful in getting me going last year when I opened. But I would love to see if we could, I didn't know that that's a rule, like a code, that, if it's a vacant spot, that you need to have some kind of a display in the window. Doesn't really apply to my business, obviously, but that would be good to kind of have that there. I would love to communicate that with my landlord, because I don't even know if my landlord knows that, right? So it would be good for us to create some kind of a little cheat sheet or a booklet, for the businesses. This brings me to my next point, which is part of code. It's to my understanding, and again, I have not really read the code book. I probably should when I have nothing to do. But it's to my understanding that there is a code in there that talks about the vinyl signage that's in the village, that we're no longer really allowed to have those signs, either on our building personally, or like the beautiful signs that we used to have hanging where our light is in the center of the village. Now, I could be wrong, but that's what I've been told. I really, truly feel that, and I understand and I respect the code, but I really feel that casting a really wide brush and enforcing it that way, I think is really a disservice to the village. Because I look forward to those banners when they're hanging at the traffic light, because I don't know what's going on in the Historical Society. Sometimes I don't even know what the chamber is up to, even though I'm active in the chamber. I think it's great for people that are driving through town to know about the events that we have going on, in and around the village. So I really wish that we could kind of come up with, a more positive perspective on how to utilize that code, but really try to also support the businesses in the village appropriately to advertise and promote, and promote all the events that we have going on. The signage that we have to get for our businesses, and this is my second business in Port Jeff. The first time I got a sign for my other business, it cost me close to $3,500 to have a carved three-dimensional sign that was posted outside my business. This business, I'm not spending that this go around. I did have a vinyl sign hanging up on the railing on my building, and back in September when I had to take it down from Officer Murdocco, I did, and I took it down. I haven't since put it back up, but now I really have no presence on Mariner's Way where that, where our railing is outside our building. So I'm hoping that, we can kind of collectively work together and figure something out in a way that we can advertise for our businesses appropriately. And then the other thing that I just wanted to make mention is when I was coming here to the meeting, The speed sign coming down East Broadway, when you come down the hill from Belterre, is not working. Okay, good, you guys are aware of it. So yeah, so just shout out again to Suffolk PD. They really did an incredible job on February 2nd, and I just wanted to publicly thank them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Matthew Franco, 5 Avon Drive, Port Jefferson, New York, 11777. Mayor Shepro, good evening. Trustees. I'd like to talk about the Bluff Erosion Committee. These are an amazing group of people that are super talented and are presenting tremendous ideas to the village. And it was nice to see you at that meeting, Mayor Shepro, because we were able to interact a little bit and discuss some of the real complexities that the village is dealing with in relation to the Bluff. And it was refreshing that you said at that meeting that ultimately we're going to have to retreat that building by 2025, or 2035. I apologize about that. So I wrote it down. So, but that was refreshing because ultimately that's what we need to do. If you listen to the commission, the Erosion Commission, they are really an amazing group of people, and I think we should really kind of take what their information that they're presenting forward, because they're looking at all the topographical. I assume we're getting a new topographical. I saw it in the minutes in the agenda today that we're going to have a topographical survey done. Is that going to be $8,500? I remember you mentioning that at the work session. We don't know we don't know the amount that it's going to.
It's not that we don't know. This is public comment, and if the trustees
Understood.
have public comment want to address any concerns raised by the public, that's when they can do it. Or if it is, like you say, on the agenda, it'll be on the agenda.
Now, can we submit written questions, and who do we submit the written questions to for responses?
That would be nice.
That would send them to you, Sylvia, after? Now, how does that response come? Is it like a couple weeks, or does it happen in a timely fashion, or? Sure. Okay, fantastic. So if we look at what's going on at the Bluff, as it was discussed at the meeting, ultimately, as Mayor Shepro mentioned in this meeting, Mother Nature is going to prevail. That this building is going to eventually need to be moved. So we are in the process of attempting to initiate phase 2 of this project. Phase 2, from what I understand, was the initial budgeting was planned sometime around 2017, 2018. And those numbers today don't really match inflation, tariffs. This project is going to be exponentially more expensive to the village. It's, Mayor, when you spoke at, I believe it was the last meeting, you had mentioned to Treasurer Gaffney that this project should be about $5 million, and you wanted him to look into budgeting about $1.25 million at that meeting. We can go back and look at it. It's in the record. But my question is, it doesn't take into inflation, tariffs, the fact that we've never remediated the drainage problem at the course. At the country club. And we're now in the process, I believe, if my numbers are correct, we have a proposal for $39,000 with Coastal to do a pilot study at the country club on the Bluff. That pilot study right now has to have, in the area that they're attempting to use, needs to be backfilled because the runoff from the parking area is washing out the area. So until we fix the drainage problem, we really can't go forward with a pilot program that's ultimately going to get washed out if we don't remediate. The real problem that's going on right now is the drainage. And this building is quite old. It has really no historical value to the village. We should, and currently we're not even getting paid rent from the current vendor. So we should really take a hard look and really consider retreating. A retreat plan and potentially putting a referendum before the voters to say, look, we're going to spend way more than $1.25 million of our hard-earned tax dollars for a project that is ultimately going to fail. So I would implore the board and the mayor to really consider a retreat plan before we seriously invest more hard-earned tax dollars from this community into a project that's ultimately going to fail. I really would think that that would be a thing that the community would want us to investigate, rather than, and we're being bled slowly but surely to death by GEI, topographical surveys, pilot programs on a building that is ultimately, this whole thing is not going to, it's ultimately not going to work. Mother Nature will eventually prevail. So I would implore, oh, just one more question. When I attended the erosion committee meeting, why does an arm of our government have to foil documents to do the work they need to do to present information to the board? I'll send that in a question. I would think that we would want a commission that was started by our elected officials to have access to the documents in a timely fashion rather than having to foil them. And I would implore, if your trustees have not attended an erosion meeting, please do. They're a wonderful group of people that are a wealth of information. So thank you for that. I'd like to move on to the country club and the golf course. When we originally had the work session, Mayor, you kindly allowed us to speak at the work session about the golf course. At that meeting, I had asked, did the golf course did we lose money, make money? And what it was relayed to me by Treasurer Gafka is that the golf course revenue was flat. And then you reaffirmed it later on in the meeting that, Matt, it was flat, the revenue. It turns out that at that time, the golf course is $700,000 in debt. Now, to me, that's not a typographical error. If the golf course is $700,000 in debt, and I ask a specific question of an elected representative and someone who works for the village, I would expect a very clear and concise answer. Not we're flat and we actually owe $700,000. It seems like that we want transparency. Mayor, you ran on transparency. And I believe that you really want to be transparent. But there are certain things that go on in the village that lead me to believe that that's not happening. And if this $700,000 shortfall is not a typographical error, we owe $700,000. We approved, this board and Mayor Shepro, a $500,000 plus expenditure at the course for the sand traps when we didn't have the money. So my question is, who's watching the ship here? Like, someone has to be, in the kitchen watching how things are being cooked, because now we're $700,000 in the hole and nobody knows about it. The interesting thing is I attended the CCMAC meeting, which was very interesting, and I was speaking to the Board of Governors President, Mike Lamello, who is a non-resident, who I have asked on multiple occasions to be removed from the Board of Governors and have new elections where we have residents in charge of the Board of Governors. What was determined at that meeting was that they don't post their minutes online. They don't do that. Now, that's supposed to be done at every board meeting. When Grant Connolly and John Riley and myself, we asked when these meetings were going to happen, can we attend the meetings? Mr. Lamello said 7 times, no, you cannot attend these meetings. And this is why we need local representation. Not someone who doesn't live in our community who will tell residents, no, you can't attend the meetings and Mayor, you actually, I believe you sent out a correspondence where, the meetings are going to be posted and residents are welcome to come. Well, I don't think Mr. Lamello and the board got the message. And they were adamant, he was adamant about us not attending those meetings, to the point where it became contentious. So I really think that we have to revisit the Board of Governors at the golf course and call for new elections. You know, Mayor, you ran on a residents first platform. Well, they're not residents. I'm a resident. Grant Connolly's a resident. John Riley's a resident. Paul Peterson's a resident. I can go on. Many people will step up and do the right thing for the village, but we're not being given the opportunity. And as I spoke to Mr. Lamello, he was discussing junior member being on the board. He's absolutely against it, and he says it's not a good idea. What would a 15-year-old be able to bring to a meeting of such, important people? And I said to him, well, how do we have a Board of Governors instituted by you, Mayor Shepro, without bylaws? We seem to do things backwards here. We implement Board of Governors, we don't have bylaws to govern what's going on. Now, I understand, thank goodness for Trustee Laux, he is implementing a real solid set of bylaws for the golf course. But it's again, backtracking to the bluff. We're going to do a pilot program, but not remediate the washout from the top of the bluff. We have to start doing things in the right order. So, because we're wasting time and money. So, just to come back to the golf course for a minute. Trustee Urginski, at the work session that I was mentioning on December 4th, we discussed a capital reserve fund. And we were in agreement with a capital reserve fund. And Treasurer Gafke had mentioned that, you have to have about, and you also yourself, Trustee Urginski, about a 7 to 10% capital reserve fund. It's been brought to my attention that the capital reserve fund the $300 per member, is now currently being used to pay for equipment leases at the golf course. That it's not being directed into a separate account as it's supposed to legally be done. It's supposed to be put in a separate account. And that money's supposed to be used for a catastrophic failure or a problem at the course, not to pay the day-to-day operational expenses at the course. And that is supposed to be posted as per New York State. If there's any expenditures out of that capital reserve fund, it is supposed to be posted. And I haven't seen a thing about where the money's being put, if there's been any expenditures out of that account. And so I'd like, and again, that'll be another question that I'll submit to the board. What I would also like is the profit and loss statement from the golf course for 23 and 24 and 24 and 25. Because it seems like you get different and varying responses to you don't get many responses, because I understand that no one's going to answer any of these questions today. But hopefully when I submit them in writing, we can get some real answers to some of these questions, because they're troubling. If the course...
Is that audit posted to the website? Are the audits posted to the website from the past years, profit, loss, audits? Just a quick clarification. Okay, so they're all on the website. Profit, loss can be viewed on the website. Correct? Okay, thank you.
For the golf course.
The monthly financials are on the website, as are the last 2 years' audits.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. I thank you for that clarification. As I spoke, I'm going to transition back to Mr. Lamello and the Board of Governors. It's almost secretive. Like, they don't want us to know what's going on. It was befuddling to me how they were fighting so fervently to not have us attend these meetings, not post these meetings online. They haven't had a meeting since November. And it leads me to the funding package that we tried to put together. And I remember in that December 4th meeting, Mayor Shepro and I had a discussion about the $3,000 initiation fee for residents in this community, and how she really wanted people to be invested in the golf course and not leave, not come and go. And it seems more likely that that money would be used to pick up the shortfall of the $700,000. That there, the intent, and that's why I say transparency and disclosure is important to the community, because people then make assumptions. And it's not fair to the community, and it's not fair to everybody on the board and Mayor yourself. But we are getting no information. It is radio silent. No one will answer a question. You can't, the Board of Governors won't let you attend a meeting. When you ask, is the golf course in a deficit, or did it make money? You're told it's flat, but we owe $700,000. So those are major issues that need to be resolved. Mayor Shepard, you ran on resident first transparency, and we're not getting the answers we're looking for, and I know you want to give them to us. Help us get these answers. It's important. It's important for us, because what's happening now is messaging is going out that, hey, we're $700,000 in the hole. Mayor Shepro and Trustee and Treasurer Gafke told Matt Franco that we were flat. We were flat. There was no, we don't know any money, and now we're $700,000 in the hole. So, can you imagine what the community is going to say when they find out now that, again, I don't think there's anything nefarious here. I hope there's not. But I believe that we need to really be upfront with the community a little more than we are.
Thank you for your comments.
I have one more thing. It looks on the budget that we're going to raise the mayor's expense by $8,000. Is that, am I correct? We're going to raise it, I know you can, we're going to raise it by $8,000. Are we in the financial situation where we can start raising the mayor's expenses, however you're going to use them, whether are we in that type of position where we can start spending an additional $8,000? Or should we start to really tighten our belts? Because every time I turn around, we are in, it seems to be the messaging to us is that we're in a financial trouble. And I would just think that we should be a little more conservative with the people's taxpayers' money. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
This is a simple one. I see on tonight's agenda that there's, yes, Robert Grimm, 18 Pine Hill Road, Port Chap. Okay. The public, there's a resolution up for a public meeting to be held in order to pass a local law to override the tax cap. And I understand this is done like almost every year or something, this is brought up. But this is really not a good time to do it. The minute we read that, including me, we see the Bluff Phase 1 needs to be paid, a Bluff Phase 2 coming, which we have no idea what's happening with that. And also we have the school district, which is not yours, but the taxpayers to be concerned about. And I just want to tell you before you vote on that we're all panicking that what you're doing is you're voting on that so you can dump all this into our taxes right away. And I would just suggest if you could not do that this time and have the public meeting about the Bluff and let everybody know exactly what's happening and what we're going to pay before you do something like pass this that gives you carte blanche to raise what you want. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no other persons who would like to make a public comment to the Board of Trustees. There's a shift to our agenda tonight.
Yes, Mayor, there is. We'll take it a little bit out of order and go into executive session. Go into executive session prior to our action items.
Okay.
So with that, may I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a contract negotiation and the specific performance of a particular employee at 6:45 p.m. Motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have a big agenda after this, so we will definitely be back. Okay, welcome back. We have returned from executive session and are ready to go through the action items. But first, can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, I'll turn it over to the clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll begin with resolution number 122625. Resolution approving the attached minutes of the January 29th, 2025 and February 12th, 2025 meetings of the Village of Port Jefferson Board of Trustees. May I have a motion?
Motion?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 22625, resolution rescinding resolution number 9-12925 as approved at the January 29th, 2025 agenda meeting of the Board of Trustees regarding the proposed contract between the Village of Port Jefferson and the Port Jefferson Rowing Club. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 22625. Resolution approving the attached resolution regarding a reimbursement payment of $2,065 to Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue, Inc. for the spaying, neutering, and vaccination of cats in the Village of Port Jefferson in 2023 and 2024. Mayor, would you like me to read the resolution now?
Would you please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a resolution approving a one-time reimbursement payment to Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue. Whereas Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue provides a valuable service to the community in and around the incorporated Village of Port Jefferson by providing trap, neuter, and release services to the large feral cat population, and whereas Jaeger's Run entered into an agreement in 2022 with the village to provide these services in 2022 through 2023, and whereas this agreement was never documented in writing, codified in a formal agreement, or ratified by the Board of Trustees at that time, and whereas Jaeger's Run provided the trap, neuter, and release services at a demonstrative cost of $2,065 and has not been reimbursed for the services provided on behalf of the village, and whereas the village treasurer and village clerk have diligently worked with Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue to review and document the services that were provided on behalf of the village by Jaeger, and have sufficiently verified that it was the intent of the village board at the time to reimburse Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue for these services provided, whereas despite the fact that no contract exists and there is no known ratification of any agreement by the village board at the time, the village wishes to make Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue whole for the services they have provided, and whereas this would be a one-time reimbursement, as the town of Brookhaven has generously offered neutering services to Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue in furtherance of the town's Feral Cat Friday initiative, and whereas the incorporated Village of Port Jefferson is grateful for the services provided to the village by Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue, now therefore be it resolved that the incorporated Village of Port Jefferson will reimburse Jaeger's Run Animal Rescue $2,065 for trap, neuter, and release services provided to the village. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to say before we vote on this, I'm really glad that we could get this done. And for residents who may not understand, the feral cat colony, I actually ran across it when I was campaigning, just knocking on doors, and it was over 40 cats. The family that moved in there had no idea that it was that number when they closed on the home. They thought it was just a small handful. They had conversations with the realtors that they didn't want the cats killed, that they would just take care of them, only to move in and find probably a number that they don't even know because you never saw them all at the same time.
Yeah.
And it is a nuisance in the neighborhood and a public health issue as well. So I'm just glad that we could get this done and thankful for all of Jaeger's Run work on this issue.
And to the town for stepping up and helping Jaeger's Run out to continue to do this good work.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution number 22625. Resolution tabling the adoption of the zoning map dated October 4th, 2024 is the official zoning map of the Village of Port Jefferson, noting the formal approval of the zoning map by both the planning and zoning boards of the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have a motion to table, please?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution number 22625, resolution identifying the polling place for the village general election on June 17th, 2025 to be the Village Center, 101A East Broadway, Port Jefferson, New York, 11777, and establishing that the polls at the Village Center polling place will be open from 6 o'clock a.m. through 9 o'clock p.m. on June 17th, 2025 for the village general election. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 6, 22625, resolution approving the attached resolution for the June 17th, 2025 village general election regarding the waiving of election inspector village residency requirements. That resolution reads as follows. Resolution waiving the election inspector residency requirement. Whereas Public Officers Law Section 3 requires that all public officers be residents of the municipality by which they are employed, and whereas Village Law 3-302 requires that village officers be residents of the village by which they are employed, and whereas Village Law 3-302A authorizes a village board of trustees to allow by resolution appointed village officers to reside within a county in which the village is wholly or partially situated, and whereas the Office of Election Inspector is a village public officer and is subject to Public Officers Law Section 3 and Village Law Section 3-302, and whereas the Suffolk County Board of Elections certifies qualified election inspectors and has provided the village with a listing of certified election inspectors, and whereas the village clerk has canvassed the list provided by the Suffolk County Board of Elections and has not been able to select an adequate number of election inspectors and alternate inspectors who are ready, willing, and able to perform the functions of election inspector for the upcoming election and who reside within the village, and whereas, due to the lack of adequate certified election inspectors who reside within the village clerk must attempt to select election inspectors and alternate inspectors who reside outside the village. Now therefore be it resolved, in lieu of any other residency requirement imposed by law, for the election occurring on June 17th, 2025, village election inspectors and alternate inspectors may reside within the county of Suffolk. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution number 7, 22625. Resolution abolishing the conducting of village voter registration days in the village of Port Jefferson for the June 17th, 2025 village general election per the attached resolution, which reads, resolution abolishing the conducting of village voter registration days in the village of Port Jefferson. Whereas the village previously adopted a resolution providing for village registration of voters, and whereas due to the costs associated with the village registration days, including the publication of notices related thereto and the minimal use of such registration day by the residents of the village, the board has determined that it is in the best interests of the village to abolish village registration day. And whereas upon abolishing village registration day, only those persons timely registered to vote with the Board of Elections shall be eligible to vote in village elections. And now therefore be it resolved pursuant to Section 15-118, Subdivision 3 of the Election Law of the State of New York, the Village of Port Jefferson hereby abolishes the village registration day for village elections in the Village of Port Jefferson, effective for all elections occurring more than 60 days after the adoption of this resolution. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in
Discussion.
favor?
I just think,
Discussion. Go ahead.
I think it's important that we clarify the reason for this, so that, and what the alternatives are, right? So why did we do this? And then what is the recourse for people who, like, what was the reasoning behind it? I think that would be good
reasoning
clarification.
behind it was something that we discussed immediately last year following our 2 village voter registration days. I believe we had a total of 2 or 3. 2? Thank you.
Too,
Yeah.
yeah.
People that signed up to vote in the village election, and so we therefore decided as a group that it was not worth the expense. We had election inspectors here for a Saturday and also for a Thursday.
And what is the alternative for the public so that they understand that nothing is being taken away by not doing those voter votes? Like, how does a voter go to register to vote in Port Jefferson?
So one would register with the county on time.
And they can do that pretty much anytime before the election. I'm not sure what the buffer time is that's necessary, but, I mean, as long as they do that, they're fine, right?
I believe it's 10 days.
It should be sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But as long as they're permitted to or registered to vote in any general election, they are registered to vote in the village with the county, if they're already registered with the County Board of Elections.
As long as a resident is properly noticed, as a proper voter with the Suffolk County Board of Elections and resides within the village for the allotted and required amount of time, then that person would be allowed to vote in a village election.
All right, thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that there was no misinterpretation of something being removed from public access.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution number 8, 22625, resolution approving the request of Stephen Munoz on behalf of the Port Jefferson Retailers Association to conduct a busking program per the attached, with performances on Saturdays and Sundays from 2 o'clock p.m. through 4 o'clock p.m., beginning on May 24th, 2025, and scheduled to end in late October 2025, consistent with the October Harvest Fest. The Village of Port Jefferson reserves the right to terminate this program at any time for any reason at its sole discretion. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution number 9, 22625, resolution approving the attached proposal submitted by Brian McCaffrey for the administration of the Village of Port Jefferson Stormwater Management Program and authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign the proposal on behalf of the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Just a quick note on this is that this is a DEC required, New York State required, mandated management program. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution number 10, 22625, resolution appointing Andrew Freeling as the Coastal Erosion Hazard Area, CEHA, CEHA, Management Administrator for the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 11, 22625, resolution approving task number 1 of the proposal submitted by GEI Consultants, Inc., in the amount of $17,600 for the provision of topographic mapping services and required surveys and stakeouts in support of New York State regulatory monitoring requirements for the East Beach Bluff, and authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign the corresponding standard professional services agreement between the Village of Port Jefferson and GEI Consultants, Inc. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Oh.
Do we want to just discuss the requirement for the first part of it and then?
So this entire, the cost of this is broken up into different sections, and the first aspect of the fee is for the monitoring report required by the Department of State for Phase 1 of the Bluff Restoration Project, and the other aspects of the proposal will cover the topographical studies, drone footage, that both require drone survey footage. And so we figured when the drone is up there for the monitoring study, we might as well utilize it as well for the rest of the other monitoring that we, and surveying we need to do for the upland portion of the Bluff project, which includes identifying the stormwater, sewage, utilities, and any other aspects of the facility that we need to carve out in order to properly design the drainage and the rest of the project. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And then just for me personally, I just want to clarify to the public, I'm voting yes on this. I'm still a skeptic on the upper portion of the bluff, of the upper wall. But because this is a New York State regulatory monitoring requirement and it's looped in with a portion of the second phase 2 of this, I'll be voting yes on it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution number 12, 22625, resolution approving the attached proposal submitted by Land Design in the amount of $5,900 to survey and stake out the east area on the existing property line on Willis Avenue from Sheep Pasture Road to Alice Street as the first step of a potential safety mitigation plan. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 13, 22625, resolution extending through June 30th, 2027, the contract between the Village of Port Jefferson and Social Butterfly for the provision of website content, social media management, and IT services, and authorizing Mayor Shepherd to sign the contract between the Village of Port Jefferson and Social Butterfly. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay.
Why do you wait until I say all in favor before you say that?
I greatly appreciate the presentation that we had at the last work session. My only concern here is this is a long extension of that contract, and we're doing a significant budget amendment today, and right now we're operating under a month-to-month, and this would essentially tie our hands to possible latitude that Treasurer Gafka may need if there's any other need for a budget amendment. And I think it would just be wiser for us if we continue month to month the way we're going right now. And this is the second budget amendment that we'll be voting on in recent times, at least since I've been on, the last few months.
So, from the perspective of working out of Village Hall on a daily basis, this time that is allocated to run through the end of the fiscal next year goes by in a just a heartbeat. It's just like that. And what we learned from the last year, and I don't think we would repeat this, but it passed us up at the last org meeting in July. So this is kind of to cover us, and the services that they provide are pretty essential to us. And I think a year and a couple of months is not a huge leap for a service like this to provide digital and tech support. And the tech support is key, as is the communication through the both digital/website, updating that, and it looks like we need the country club website needs their support as well, and the social media information that goes out to inform the community about the things that are going on they need to know in the village is a vital communications tool, and for me, an essential service. And I don't use those terms loosely. An essential service is, they are there 24/7, 7 days a week if we need it. They are essential. They operate as an essential service that's provided to the village. So I'll respectfully say that I think this is not a super long term of extension. And if things need to improve over the course of time, or there are opportunities for change or change of direction in terms of the services they provide, or to grow and expand, whatever's needed, I know that they'd be, on the team to get things done. So
It is over 2 years, though, and that's a...
26, 27. Oh.
Is it supposed to be 26?
No. Nope, it's supposed to be 27. That still goes in the blink of an eye. And also, it helps us from having to go through the process again. But, that's because I do, and the people I work with do benefit from the day-to-day of their service, including code, including every single department here.
Mm-hmm.
So it just there's a consistency that that we need and that we get from them, and they're extremely dependable and helpful. So, and that's to benefit the residents, really.
Question, shouldn't it be June 1st? Right, that's the beginning of the next fiscal, or the fiscal year, right?
Well, it's sort of considered that, right, this is where we do the, when you do the org
Okay,
meeting.
the org meeting,
Yeah,
okay.
I think that was what it was. I think I said fiscal, but I probably misspoke. Okay. Any other discussion?
It just seems like a long extension for me. 27? I mean, last month we voted to go month to month, and then now all of a sudden we're extending it over 2 years.
Okay, noted, Stan.
Okay.
But again, the services they've been providing have been consistent, and the continuity and the institutional knowledge that they bring probably protects us from, in the next 2 years, from having to make a change if they're not approved. Yeah, I don't know, that's a leap too, but
No, I understand that. I just,
what, is there a downside to it? What's the downside to having it expire in 2027?
well, I'm going backwards. I'm questioning why would we do a month to month? And then the very next meeting we have, we extend it beyond 2 years. I'm not disputing their quality
Oh,
at all.
okay. We did the month to month because we didn't, the agreement that we had signed with them in 2023 expired in 2024. And so
They've been going
that
without
was
it.
an oversight. And so we went month to month until they had a chance to present the analytics of the work that they do and to highlight the amount of work and the quality of work that they put forth on behalf of the village. And so in this case, we are looking to maintain a consistency and, not to have to change it.
Just on in a positive, I would turn on my mic, but it's, my understanding as well that the agreement is a fixed price for that time period as well. So there's no significant increases or no increases over the life of that span, or the opportunity for them to renegotiate in a year should things go up and down.
Good point.
Yeah, I would argue that as a municipality, media should be a line item that has some impact, right? And given the current cost of the month-to-month that was rolled into this extension, or this contract, I should say, it still seems like we're getting a good value overall, but just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Okay,
Any
move
other
the
comments?
question.
Okay, all right, so all in favor?
Mayor, we should probably do a roll call vote.
Okay. I'll let the clerk do that.
Thank you. Trustee Laus?
Aye.
Trustee Giuliano?
Aye.
Trustee Ugrinsky?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
No.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Resolution number 14-22625. Resolution approving the attached municipal advisor services agreement submitted by Munistat for the provision of services including but not limited to bond financings, note financings, EFC financings, and lease financings, and authorizing Treasurer Gafka to sign the agreement between the Village of Port Jefferson and Munistat. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution number 15-22625. Resolution hiring Ava Cooper as an intern in the Department of Building and Planning at an hourly wage rate of $16.50 per hour, effective May 22nd, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 16-22625. Resolution accepting the resignation of Thomas Natola as General Manager of the Port Jefferson Country Club, effective January 30th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 17-22625. Resolution accepting with regret the resignation of Gwen Nat from the Country Club Management Advisory Council. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 18, 22625, resolution appointing Gary Zamek to the Country Club Management Advisory Council to fill the unexpired portion of the term of Gwen Nat, which expires on June 30th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 19, 22625, resolution approving the attached resolution authorizing the Village of Port Jefferson to apply for $15,000 of Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding to be utilized for recreational programming for senior citizens, and further authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign all related required grant paperwork. And the resolution reads as follows. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of the Village of Port Jefferson hereby approves the request of the Village of Port Jefferson to apply for $15,000 in community development block grant funding for a recreational program for their senior citizens. The Village of Port Jefferson will administer the program in its entirety. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 20, 22625, resolution approving the attached resolution authorizing the Village of Port Jefferson to apply for $67,500 of Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding to be utilized for the construction of ADA accessible curbing and walkways at the Rocket Ship Park Tennis Court area, and further authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign all related required grant paperwork. And that resolution reads as follows. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of the Village of Port Jefferson hereby approves the request for the Village of Port Jefferson to apply for $67,500 in Community Development Block Grant funding for ADA accessible curbing and walkway improvements in the village, specifically the Rocket Ship Park Tennis Court area. ADA accessible curbing and walkways will assist the disabled community to be able to navigate the Rocket Ship Park Tennis Court and public restroom facilities. The Village of Port Jefferson will administer the program in its entirety. May I have a motion?
Motion here.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 21, 22625, resolution scheduling a public hearing for 6 o'clock p.m. on March 26th, 2025, at Port Jefferson Village Hall, 121 West Broadway, Port Jefferson, New York, 11777, regarding a proposed local law overriding the 2% tax cap as established in General Municipal Law, Section 3-C. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second for discussion.
Discussion? Yeah.
Before you ask questions, may I ask the treasurer to talk through this?
Sure.
Okay. And our attorney as well.
Thank you, Mayor. So this resolution essentially establishes per state law the public hearing to discuss overriding the 2% tax cap. The New York State law says that all municipalities and school districts have to abide by 2% growth cap for all of their taxable districts. So what this does is it allows the public to give their public comment, and it allows the board to consider the possibility of overriding the tax cap. It's a procedural issue. This is something that the village has done and passed for the last 10 years. And 8 of those 10 years have actually had the need to pierce the tax cap. So this is a procedural move. It gives the board the authority to override the tax cap and stay within state law, although it does not mean that the board will actually pierce the tax cap.
More importantly, Treasurer Gafka, if they don't do this and attempt to pierce the tax cap, what is the repercussion?
The repercussion would be that the board would have to allocate whatever percentage that they overrode the tax cap by and have to put that against next year's budget in the tax cap formula and have to deduct that amount from what they would be able to collect. They would have to put money into a reserve and keep it there. They wouldn't be able to use it.
Okay, so we did not pierce the tax cap in 2024, in the fiscal year 23-24, did we?
We did not pierce it for fiscal year 2025.
2025, so
Correct.
my first budget.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and that's very intentional, in my opinion, I'll say.
May I? As everybody knows, we're in the process of going through the budget. We are looking at every single line item, every single department in a way that that has not ever been done in the 10 years that the departments have communicated back to us. This is the first time that they are actually being brought to the table. They have accountability, they have ownership of each of the department budgets. It is not being done to them. We are asking them to work collaboratively with the treasurer, and the goal is to maintain a flat budget while still building a contingency fund. So if you do the math, that means we're actually asking them to cut budget. So I want to throw that out there. That is not necessarily a statement of where the final budget is going to land, but that is how we're working through the process. This is, as the treasurer mentioned, is procedural. In the event that we had to, it would cause further hardship if we don't pass this resolution. To the mayor's comment, she didn't pierce the tax cap last year, and that's our goal for this year as well. So we're happy to have any kind of conversation with anyone who's interested in the budget process as it now runs in this village. And with that, I'll pause.
Thank you.
But once again, as Stephen said, we're setting a date for a public hearing.
That's it.
So we're not approving the tax cap at this point or
Correct.
piercing the tax cap. It's just setting the public hearing so that we can hear from the public.
Yeah, thanks for that
That's right.
clarification. Yeah.
Yep, thank you for saying that. Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Resolution number 22-22625. Resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget amendment number 76, increasing capital fund revenues and corresponding expenses in the amount of $9,880,102.89 per the total recognized within the PKF O'Connor Davies Capital Project Summary Report detailing fiscal years 2017 through 2023. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Discussion? Treasurer Gafka, can you just explain this a little bit?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Basically, the PKF capital summary report detailed when they looked from 2017 through 2023, they recognized all of the capital projects and they put all of the individual revenues for each project, be it grant, be it bond, be it interfund transfer, or some other miscellaneous revenue in each bucket. And none of this was recorded in the capital fund for the last 7 years, from 2017 to 2023. There were no budget amendments. The money was spent, the revenue was recorded, but it was never put in the individual buckets. So they detailed all of that, and this number is the total amount of the revenues that they could allocate for each one of the projects in totality.
Is it safe to say, Treasurer, that this is yet another, resolution that is driven by an effort to correct the previous bookkeeping and the movement of funds that would not be according to municipal GAAP?
That is correct.
Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for doing that.
Resolution number 23-22625. Resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget amendment number 77, increasing capital fund revenues and corresponding expenses in the amount of $257,360.80 related to band premiums, BAN, redeemed from budgeted appropriations, and a New York State DEC EV charger grant received from the Baker's Alley EV charger and recognized during fiscal year 2024. May I have a motion?
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 24-22625. Resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget amendment number 78, increasing capital fund revenues and corresponding expenses in the amount of $249,000 for BAN premiums redeemed from budgeted appropriations for fiscal year 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 25-22625, resolution authorizing all previous intra-project transfers from fiscal years 2017 through 2023 as per the attached spreadsheet from fiscal years 2017 through 2023 as recommended in the capital project summary report provided by PKF O'Connor Davies. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Does this go back to number 22?
Yes, this is-
connected to 22?
Yes, this is connected to 22. It's from the same report, and it's a recommendation that Jeff DeVoli had made to this board to approve this resolution.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 26-22625, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to adjust all capital fund expenditure line items per the attached, resulting in the capital fund expenditures reflecting the adjusted balances recommended in the PKF O'Connor Davies Capital Project Summary Report and to account for corresponding activity from fiscal years 2024 and 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 27-22625, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget amendment number 79, decreasing anticipated revenues and appropriated expenses in the general fund by $320,000 per the attached detailed spreadsheet. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 28-22625, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget transfer number 23, decreasing appropriations for the listed detailed expenses and increasing appropriations for over-budget line items within the general fund per the attached spreadsheet detail. May I have a motion?
Motion.
So just a quick comment and to ask Treasurer Gafka for your reaction to my question is this is really, we are examining the budget very closely. We see that we need to make up some money. So we tighten the belt a little bit and then we find opportunities where spending can be curtailed. And that's what we're doing with and as a result, resolution number 28-22625 has come to be. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, Mayor.
Are you sure?
No.
Don't be afraid to say, no, you're wrong.
That is, yes, that is the spirit of what we're doing here.
Okay.
Yes, Budget Amendment 79 is tightening the belts. And the budget transfer 23, what that does is it corrects by moving money around within the budget. It is a flat resolution. There is
Okay.
no additional expense with that particular resolution.
So it will not hurt the taxpayer.
I think, just to clarify for the residents, in order to balance the budget, which we're required to do, if there's anything that was budgeted for that didn't come in, so maybe some permit fees, et cetera, over the course of the year, we are now, more than halfway through the fiscal. It is the appropriate time to look at what needs to be corrected, how we anticipate balancing the current budget. It is also an important precursor for the budget that we're moving into. And it is a way for the department heads to collaborate with the treasurer to ensure that they are staying on budget, but also it is an important lead-up activity to our next budget cycle. So I just, think that's important to point out that it's a mechanism for balancing the current budget and preparation for anticipating expenses and revenues in the next year.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 29-22625, resolution approving attached quotation number Q-517651-1, submitted by ChargePoint for charging station cloud online services and software support for April 24th, 2025 through April 23rd, 2028, and authorizing Mayor Shepro or the mayor's designee to execute the corresponding DocuSign quotation agreement between the Village of Port Jefferson and ChargePoint. May I have a motion?
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 30, 22625, resolution approving the check register and warrants dated February 24th, 2025, as presented by Treasurer Gafka and as approved by Claims Auditor Goodwin. May I have a motion?
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this point, we have two add-on resolutions, which will take the place of the ones in the current agenda for number 31 and 32. Resolution number 31, 22625, resolution appointing Karen Sullivan to the Public Safety Advisory Council to fill the unexpired balance of the term of Melissa Gianola, which expires on June 30th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second. Third. Fourth.
Trustee Hill.
Trustee Hill made the motion.
He made the motion.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
No discussion?
I'll just add that I think Karen demonstrated earlier today in her comments to the board why she would be an asset on the Public Safety Advisory Council. She's a downtown shop owner, and we're lacking that perspective on the council right now, so it would be really great to have her on board to round that out. But all residents are welcome to those meetings. We meet at Village Hall the first Monday of the month. I believe it's 7 o'clock. Yes, 7 o'clock.
I don't know.
I always mix it up that it's 7 or 7:30,
Or
and I have to
6:30.
check every time.
It'll
It's
be
not,
on
it's
the-
not
it'll be on-
6:30, I know that.
I think it's on the website.
It is, yeah.
But I concur, I second that perspective, Trustee Hill, and even just listening to her tonight, making recommendations for what could benefit the business owners in terms of code and whatnot is really an example of why this is going to be, she'll make a good participant on the advisory council. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution number 32, 22625, resolution appointing Hayduck Engineering LLC as Village Consulting Engineer of Record. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Lastly, we have resolution number 33, 22625, resolution to close the February 26th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Trustees at 9:02 p.m. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
That clock is wrong.